At best, the alien abduction phenomenon is a terrifying, traumatic experience. At its worst, well, we think they sometimes take people and don't put them back.
I lost my mother and brother to this trauma. He murdered her, then killed himself.
These women are being used as human incubators, with all their children stolen away into the night.
A 6-foot-tall entity of blue-white light paralyzed me, then bent down and said into my ear, "Hi, Steve." It knew my name.
We hear gruesome stories of experiments and dissections. Imagine dying on a metal table while paralyzed, surrounded by alien faces. It's a real horror story. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our show on Gnostic TV called Abductions 101, UFOs and the Paranormal Connection. I'm your host, Leslie Shaw, and this is my husband, Stephen Shaw.
Hello, Leslie. Good evening.
Good evening. And we are the co-authors of the UFO book, Who They Are and What They're Up to. Every episode on our show, we want to share one of our personal experiences before we introduce our wonderful guest. And tonight we're going to talk about Stephen's first UFO. You said you saw it when you were about what age, my dear?
I was 11 years old in 1971. I was living at our house on Fallbrook Avenue in Woodland Hills, which is a suburb of Los Angeles. It was about 9 o'clock at night, and I just happened to be walking by the front door, and I saw this large orange globe that was moving from south to north in a very even pace, going horizontally, kind of pausing like around about our house, and then continued on north. And I thought that was very curious. So I called Griffith Park Observatory the next night, and I asked them, did they see anything? And they said, well, young man, that we don't have our telescopes pointed in the direction of Woodland Hills. So I guess they kind of blew me off a little bit.
Fair enough, though, yeah. I suppose.
And also during that time period when I was growing up, we had Rocketdyne, basically, a rocket testing lab that was very popular during the Apollo missions. And I remember growing up as a kid that we frequently would hear the rockets being tested. We'd hear the roar, and it was quite loud, So
I've often wondered if the UFO was passing by your house on the way to Rocketdyne to check out the rocket company.
There could very well be. It was this like I say. I looked at that orange globe. It was large, and it certainly wasn't a helicopter or an airplane.
It was silent, right?
Especially, yes, it was silent, especially the movement pattern it had. And it was, of course, like I say, it was no blimp. So that was my first experience.
And we're both UFO witnesses. I've seen 2, and Stephen has seen 5, and
yes,
this was his first one.
Yes.
So thanks, Stephen, and we'll introduce our tonight's guest in just a moment. His name is Oscar Romo, and he's the host of the Induced Fear podcast. Hi, Oscar. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you guys. This is a real honor. This is a real honor. My pleasure.
Thank you. Oscar Romo is the host of the Induced Fear podcast. He is a paranormal researcher and interviewer, giving people a space to share their experiences so they never feel alone.
So with that, let's introduce Oscar.
And here's Oscar. Let's make you the big screen there.
There you go.
All
right.
Ta-da.
Hi, everybody.
I love your clown. I love your hat. So thank you.
Oh,
and your little alien guy in the background. I see him there. He's so cute. I've always wondered why so many aliens are depicted as green. I've heard of blue and white and gray, but they're really never green that I know of. I'm just not sure where that came from.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the reptilian connection. People just assumed, put those two together.
Maybe, or the little green men, I think, is how people used to refer to them in the old days, I guess.
Yeah.
From Mars, little green Mars.
The color of illuminated green has like a kind of a connection of a feeling of like a little sickness or alienness to it. Not really, the other colors don't really so much, but
good point.
Apart from red being the devil, of course.
Yeah.
So I heard an interview that Oscar gave recently, and you were saying that you got started with a paranormal experience of your own, and of course we want to hear all about that.
Yeah, it started off with sleep paralysis, which a ton of people connect, which also has a connection with abductions that people experience. There is also a sleep paralysis that occurs for some people, but yeah, it was I was probably, I want to say, 9 years old, laying in bed one night. I feel like there's somebody in my face, and of course that wakes me up. And when I open my eyes, it's just a figure that is darker than the darkness of the room. And I try to move, can't move, try to yell for my brother because we shared a room at that time. I tried to yell for him, couldn't. It was just little squeaks of air that were coming out. And then eventually, as I guess the fear hit its high point, I kind of just broke through it. And I remember just being terrified. Didn't even bother waking up my brother at the time. Just turned on our box TV to just static screen and left it on there. So that was the light in the room because I was just so afraid. And then from that, it just, yeah, it is. But that was the first thing that ever happened to me. That was the kickoff point for all the craziness. So,
how large would you say this dark figure was, as far as like height and width and?
I think because it was, I think I would say it was the size of a full-grown man. Mm-hmm. I mean, as a child, it was a lot bigger than me. It was really close to me, so it definitely looked a lot larger because it was just right there in front of my face. And it didn't really move or anything like that for me to see any lower than probably shoulders and up. But it definitely was the size of like a large man, I would say.
Did it feel sinister and menacing?
I don't know if it gave away that feeling. I would say that just because it was me just being woken up abruptly and something being there, that fear was just there because I don't know what's going on in that moment.
Right.
Right. And any feedback as far as the eyes? Were you able to get any sense of what the eyes were like?
No, it just was a dark figure. I didn't start seeing the resemblance of features until later on in life because I really didn't focus on it too much as a child. My brain was just try to break out of this, get away from it.
Were you in California but in that moment, still at this point?
Yeah, I was in California. It was a small house. Me and my brother shared a room. My mom was just on the other side of the wall, and all I was doing was trying to just scream for anybody to like help me out in that moment. But no eyes.
Have you had multiple then since then of what you call sleep paralysis or interactions?
Yeah, from that point on, I think because I really focused in on what could this thing be, what was it that just happened to me. I don't know if I just left the door open or really just put my energy into thinking about this thing so much that it would just happen every so often. It would either be a couple of weeks would go by, then it'd happen again, months, year. It didn't really have a set time limit on when it would happen. But I always, as the years went on, I started to gain a feeling of when it would come. I would feel a heaviness in the room even before I fell asleep. I would feel the heaviness come into the room, and then during those moments I would hear, the only way I can describe it is hearing the sound of silence, like almost like a humming or buzzing noise.
Yes.
And I would hear that when this thing would come into the room, and then I would say to myself in those moments, don't turn around, don't look at it, don't face it, because the moment you do, you're going to be in paralysis. So sometimes I would try to ignore it. I would just tell it, leave me alone. Other times I would be like, all right, let's just get it over with, and I'd roll over and be stuck. But those moments when
Sorry.
Oh, go on.
Go ahead.
But it was in those moments where I started to really pay more attention to what it could probably be.
Well, is it there usually a presence with whenever the paralysis happens? Is it always a presence or this this visitor, so to speak, comes?
Yeah, I would always feel it enter the room. Because it would be normal. I would be in the room by myself, go to lay down, and then as I'm laying there trying to go to sleep, or maybe trying to fight going to sleep, one of the two. As a kid or a teenager, you don't really want to go to sleep. And that's when I would feel something just, it's like something snapped in the air and everything felt heavier. And then I knew it would happen.
Yeah, I definitely associate with that. This really quick, because this is your interview. But when I was 23, I was awakened. I was sleeping on the floor at that time in my life. I was a young man. So, anyways, I woke up and 5:00 in the morning and didn't want to get up. My body wasn't in sleep paralysis, but it felt very heavy. Just like I was awake and I was alert. This really relaxed, right? And I looked up to the ceiling, and there was this little, 2-foot tall entity that was just floating there and shimmering. It kind of had a triangular-shaped head and these big dark eyes. And when it noticed that I noticed it, it floated down to my right side and landed by my right side. And I knew I couldn't show any fear. And the entity said to me, "Do you want me to help you get out of your body?" And I said to it, I said, "You can help me, but you cannot possess me." And then it started to try and pull me into my astral state out of my body, and it went back up into the air and kind of let out a growl. And then it left. Wow. And my dad said, "Who were you talking? Who were you having a conversation with, at 5:00 in the morning?" So yeah, it's funny how these entities will manifest in different times.
He said it had a baritone voice, but it was only this tall. So I always thought that was kind of strange.
It was very specific. It says, "Do you want me to help you get out of your body?" And I knew I couldn't show fear. This little thing in my said, "No, you can't show fear. Just set your boundaries."
When we were studying Kundalini raising practices, chanting, meditation, after a while, they then teach you how to astral project. So we were taught about this place between sleepfulness and wakefulness called the hypnagogic state or the hypnopompic state. And in this state, you're paralyzed. You can't move your body, but your consciousness is aware. And I've always wondered if sleep paralysis was the same thing. But now I'm not so sure because generally there was not an entity involved with it or a visitor, so to speak. They are different. They are different. Yeah, I guess so.
I remember looking into things, and something very early on. I probably had barely become a teenager at the time when I started to look up things like, what could this be? And there were instances of people saying, "Oh, it's your spirit leaving your body in that moment, and you're kind of caught between something else trying to enter your body as you're coming back, and that's what causes that kind of fight, and you're kind of stuck there." But that was only one thing that I had come across. That was years and years ago.
Yes. And in our case, when we would reach that state, you feel vulnerable, right? Because you can't move. But they actually taught us that it was a time of power for us because it's the moment where you can use mental commands to separate your astral body from your physical body. Mm-hmm. But if you're actually being plagued by some sort of an entity or a demon, I'm not sure it's a good idea to get out of your body and leave it alone with with the entity while
you do have to set traveling. You do have to set boundaries, and like we were taught also too, if you're kind of like feeling like you have some like lower vibrational creatures around, just jump up. think up, to go to
Right.
a higher level. But
Yeah, they taught us that it is possible to be attacked in the astral realm by lower beings, but that we are capable of then ascending to a higher plane, which they are not capable of doing. So it's a way of escaping them. Although they did tell us
Okay.
that nobody
Yeah.
dies, nobody gets hurt,
Right.
you know,
Well,
physically.
yeah.
But
you can probably get psychological
yeah, but you get the
dysfunction.
the the
Yeah.
the,
Yeah, I would
the,
imagine.
tar scared out
Yeah.
of you.
So you had some other questions for
Yes, I did.
for
Well,
Oscar.
yeah.
There was like a really interesting one that
Um, let's see. Oh, have you interviewed any other UFO abductees besides Stephen here?
No, but very early on, I did get a story sent into me, somebody's experience, and it took place here in Colorado, and they had shared an instance. Now, I never actually spoke to the person, so this is all off of what was sent to me, but they were driving down a certain road near Estes Park, Colorado. It was very icy then. They ended up seeing a light come over their vehicle, and when it went over their vehicle, they kind of spun off of the road a bit. When he went to go check on his wife, she was gone. And then
Out of the car?
yeah, she was just completely not there.
Wow.
He ended up getting a call later that his wife was at a hospital probably about an hour away. And she just appeared there, but she didn't remember him at the time. Like she kind of had a lapse in memory during that
Wow.
time. And eventually, I guess that took a toll on them. They ended up going their separate ways, but he said that he has dreams of a child calling out to him, and he feels like it's connected with that instance.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to get more information from him, but that was the only thing he had sent, and he went dark after that.
He wouldn't communicate further, huh?
Yeah.
What a shame that it damaged their relationship. They do this memory tampering with people. So, I mean, to forget your husband, that's they probably took a bigger chunk than they're used to taking.
Yeah.
Stephen just had a experience recently where they he woke on a table, and these aliens were standing around him, and they were looking at a screen, a monitor, and what did they say? They said,
this guy knows too much. This was not very long after we launched our book, no pun intended. And I was literally watching my brain on this screen, and they were like zapping. And I remember that I was actually feeling the zaps too when I was in my bed. It was like I was feeling the zzz, zzz, zzz. And it was a very physical manifestation, and I saw the tall aliens too, the tall grays.
Oh, I thought you were on a table.
I was, yes, but
you were
I
in
saw
bed,
them.
You say?
Well, when my physical body, it felt like my physical body was in bed wherever I was.
Oh, I see.
Wherever I was, I felt this zapping of my head. Okay, so it's these things happen to me since I was the age of 3.
Yeah.
Throughout most of my life, and they still continue to be happening to this day. So, as an example, about 6 months ago, I had just gotten out of bed to relieve myself at 6 in the morning and gotten back into bed, and I was just trying to go back to sleep, and then this voice, this feminine voice that was Asian, said into my right ear, not in my head, but in my right ear, like it was laying right next to me, said, "Husband."
Did you feel it get into bed?
Yeah, when I went to bed that night, I felt like somebody got into bed with me,
and it wasn't me.
Yeah, and so I just basically just ignored it. Said, what do you want, kind of thing, and I just said, okay, it's going to be one of those nights, right? So, anyway, but that was the only time that I can recall having a voice, a monotone voice, to say "husband," and Leslie's never referred to me that way.
No, never.
No, so. It's bizarre. And then 2 weeks ago, I was trying to get back to sleep, and then it was the Green Acres theme. Da 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 da.
Yeah, that,
5 knocks behind my head on the wall.
and
Oh,
how the
man.
aliens know the Green Acres thing.
I have
I'm
no
not
idea on
sure.
that.
So I wanted to also ask you, you know, we believe that there's a connection between the paranormal, you know, the whole cryptid thing and hauntings and astral travel and the UFO and abduction phenomenon. And I was wondering if you had any opinions on that.
Yeah, I actually had somebody, I did an interview a couple of years ago, and somebody pointed out that because I also have UFO experiences myself.
Oh,
And
we want to hear all about those too.
yeah, and they had suggested that at the time that I was seeing the UFO experience, seeing the UFOs in the sky and having my run-ins with them, that I was also having these sleep paralysis experiences. And they were like, it could be a connection. And that was the first time that I was like, oh, okay, we could draw a line between these two things. Maybe there's more. Maybe the paranormal is more connected than your what you think of at first when you start it. Because at first, when you jump into this world, you're on one subject, and then you start to piece things together, and it starts to connect further and further as you go on.
Do you think you could be an abductee?
I have no idea. I never felt that in any way.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt that mine were my sleep paralysis experiences were spiritual, in a sense of something was there to either instill fear in me or something to just mess with me in those moments. Just because I was
nightmares of you know, alien faces around you on a cold table, or then.
no, but it's funny you say that, because I do have a nightmare that was a reoccurring nightmare as a child, and it was the scariest thing to me. And it didn't involve any type of different being, but it was me strapped to some type of medical chair, a dentist chair, something like that. And I just had doctors all around me, and they were all screaming and shouting and saying different things that I couldn't really make out just because there was so much talking going on. But that dream would always terrify me. It would be the one dream that would really wake me up and make it so that I didn't want to go back to sleep. So it is interesting that you said that.
Up, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the closest I have to a nightmare that involved probably something along those lines.
I wonder. Yeah, that's it could be. It could be.
I remember I told you I had the recurring dream of the tall black man with the hat that would show up at the front door in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And it would always stop at the front door, and then I would black out after that. But,
Yeah, with Stephen, we haven't been able to. We've tried to hypnotize him and regress through to these blackout periods, you know, because that's kind of the signature of the abduction phenomenon is people see something strange or bizarre and then black out. Then there's this big missing chunk of time. But we've tried to regress him through into those experiences to find out the blackouts, but it's a traumatic experience, and he's so far the block is held, and he hasn't been able to break through it yet.
Well, as they said, he knows too much. You can't let that block.
Oh yeah, let's kill this brain cell.
Man, I know I can be hypnotized because I was one on my 19th birthday.
Yeah, but this is a whole different kettle of fish. Yeah. This is not fun, you know.
Yeah, this is something. Yeah,
you're not going to bark like a dog, and you know you're going to probably like when Betty Hill, poor Betty Hill and Barney Hill, you know that story, right? When she was regressed, the first thing she did was start screaming, you know, and that always gave me the chills, like, oh my God. So it's not like it's a traumatic experience that, and it was so traumatic that my brother-in-law, Stephen's brother, ended up having a rough time with the rest of his life, and ended up killing his mother and himself at one point with a shotgun, and on his birthday. And you know, he just had gotten more and more reclusive and paranoid, and from what we understand, that's common with early childhood trauma. He
Yeah.
slept in his closet for 2 years because he was
Afraid of the little
afraid
man
of
that
the
came
little
in the night.
men. Yeah.
Which I believed him because I'd seen the same thing at his age.
Have you ever
I think I
interviewed
remember you
any
guys
like?
telling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever interviewed any Bigfoot witnesses in your show?
Yeah, there were a few, not full on straight encounters to where they were face to face with it. There were some where people had something wandering around their campsite in the middle of the night to where they saw and they heard what sounded like a man breathing, but it was very heavy footsteps.
Mm-hmm.
That same man also shared an encounter that he didn't witness. A friend of his, when he was young, they were playing out by the woods, and as they were playing, his friend just screams and tells him to run towards him. And when he gets to his friend, he said a giant hand reached out from the bushes covered in hair and reached for you, but barely missed you. And that's when he screamed for him and then had him run away.
Did they mention any type of smell associated with these encounters?
Yeah, there's usually
I think when he
stench.
Yeah, I think when he said when he was camping, the one wandering around his tent, I think he did mention like that strong foul odor, like somebody who has never heard of deodorant ever in their life. That's the smell.
Our first episode was Bennett Tanton, and he described his Bigfoot encounter. They never saw it. It was on the other side of this hedge, and the hedge was like thrashing around, but what they first did, their first thing was that they jumped the creek, and they were only a few feet away from it.
They're Boy Scouts.
And little kids,
Okay.
and they said the stench was unbelievable. It was like a wet dog mixed with a dead carcass,
Like
decaying carcass.
flesh,
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Hence the skunk ape.
one of the youngest kid was so freaked out by it that he called his parents the next day.
Yeah,
And they
I'm
came.
done camping forever.
I'm done camping with the Boy Scouts. He was really freaked out by it. So
Yeah, I wouldn't blame him.
this is Illinois, right?
And it was Illinois, and the whole skunk ape thing comes out of like usually the South, but I guess they smell bad in Illinois too.
Yeah.
They don't bathe in Illinois either.
Yeah, I'm thinking anywhere where it's humid,
Yeah,
there's going to be a strong smell.
Yeah, I think everybody doesn't smell as well when it's humid. So.
And imagine the work, brushing that hair out after you wash it. It's like
Yeah, a cosmetologist's nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. So, what were some of your more interesting guests on your podcast?
Interestingly enough, when it comes to abductions and the extraterrestrial things like that, I did have somebody come on not too long ago who said he was able to communicate with these beings from another either world or reality. He met with somebody who did meditation and they went through like kind of just a training session, I guess. He just hung out with this person and really got to know them, got to know what he did. And he kept saying to me, I know it sounds crazy. I know I sound crazy. And I told him, hey,
No,
I'm not here to call you crazy. I'm here to let you express your stories, what you go through. And he further explained that he would see triangular shaped objects whenever he would try to communicate with these beings. They would come down, and almost he described it as downloading a thought into his head, not really communicating with a voice, but just something getting downloaded into his head.
yeah,
And that's how he would communicate.
Quite common, I believe that.
Yeah, the telepathy it's actually a more direct and a simpler way of communicating. It's kind of funny that we just have kind of lost. Well, we haven't completely lost the ability for telepathy, but it's almost like a vestigial gland, like the appendix.
Yeah. It's a human birthright, we think,
Yeah.
but it's atrophied in us, whereas in the aliens it has not atrophied.
Well, yeah,
it's part of their regular life, we think.
Yeah,
you know?
this way you don't have to, like, for instance, when you think of the word tree in whatever language, you don't think of like in English, TREE. The first thing you do, the very first thing is you see the picture in your head of a tree.
Yep.
It's just like it's much more direct, and you can communicate much more data via telepathy than via like a linear language like English. So it's interesting that yeah, they don't have to learn the different languages. They just have to be able to transmit, you know, the actual pictures, and then that
Yeah.
becomes encoded message in our brain.
When we were
Yeah.
doing the Kundalini raising work, Stephen is a very psychic person, and his whole family are psychic. And we now know from Luis Elizondo's new book, Eminent, that there's a psychic connection
Yes.
to the phenomenon. Because they did MRIs. You know, he was with the government, right? Secret ATIP
Yeah.
program. And he said they did MRIs on the brains of abductees and discovered that they have the same kind of brains like people with ESP have and remote viewers have.
Right.
So
Right.
it's the
Oh.
parahippocampal gyrus.
It's called the parahippocampal gyrus.
Thank you. I'm getting it.
Yeah.
I soon I'll have it someday.
Yeah. It's an area that spans both sides of the brain. It's bicameral, and it's more developed in people that have, you know, the ability to, you know, for instance, you know, psychic mediums or people that
Oh,
have,
wow.
you know, that can astral project. So it's actually Elizondo devoted 6 pages in his book about how he was taught. He was taught the art of remote viewing. It's actually something you have to be taught. You have to get into the right state,
Yeah.
the right brainwave frequency, and then you can literally get the pictures.
It's kind of like we were taught how to astral project. It's
Right.
it's really the same thing. I think it's just
It's a technique.
yeah. It's just it's an ability that all of us have.
Yeah.
If we just do the practices necessary to.
Yeah, this is this big old, you know, Marine type guy, you know, that, you know, with the tattoos, and you
Oh,
think,
yeah.
you know, he just think is all BS, you know, but no, it says no. It's in fact when he started doing it and getting good at it, he and his wife, they started getting visited by, you know, these orbs that would show up at their house, like outside their house.
I think
You know?
they're also checking on him like this guy knows too much too, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, he said, "Okay, you're more interesting to us now because we can actually communicate with you." So,
Now, I
Yeah.
definitely want to hear all about your UFOs.
oh, for
please
sure,
Okay.
tell.
we need time for that.
Start at the beginning on that and get
Yeah.
everything.
One of my earliest memories of a UFO sighting would be any time that I was driving, because I lived in the deserts of California most of the time. And even when I lived in Arizona, which a couple of my experience happened, it's just deserts. It's these wide open spaces. So as we're driving in the car, I was probably, I want to say 13 by this time, maybe a little younger by a couple of years. But we're driving in the middle of nowhere, Arizona, just dirt, dirt, dirt all around. The sky, you can see all the stars. And in one patch of area, there was clouds. And I just remember looking up there in the clouds, and it almost seemed like something opened up in the clouds, and I saw something go inside. And my first thought was like, oh, did I see an angel going into heaven? Something like that.
Right.
Sure.
And it was just, in that moment, I wasn't scared. Even though if it was something crazy that I've never seen before, I wasn't scared. I was more excited.
Yeah.
And I remember
It's not as
asking my
sinister
brother.
as something in your room,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's outside. It's far away from me at that point. But I remember asking my brother if he saw it. He didn't see it. And I asked anybody else in the car if they saw it. Nobody else saw it because I was just the only one looking up at the sky at that time.
It was just for you.
And
huh?
as the years went on, I would have more things happen. I remember seeing, I think it was just like a meteor, or not a meteor, or just a comet going through, because it was just this bright green light that kind of went over my street and lit up the street bright enough to the point where it wasn't dark anymore.
Right. Could
That
be
time I
meteor,
actually,
sure.
yeah. But then since then, because it's wide open skies in Arizona, I was always looking up at the sky, because after I saw one thing in the sky, I want to see a bunch of things into the sky.
Yep.
This was years later, around, I want to say I was in high school by this time, probably just entering high school. Had a friend who can drive. So we're driving again. Where I lived was a tiny little town, and you had to drive this really long stretch of 30-minute road, which is just dirt road to get in and out of this town. And I remember us driving on the road, and we were just seeing these lights kind of dancing in the distance in the sky. And at first we thought they were those red blinking tower lights that they have for radio signals and things like that. We thought they were those, but they were moving. So it would blink one time in one area, and then it would go to a different spot, and then go to a different spot. And they were kind of just dancing around each other.
And they were red?
Yeah, they were red. They were red. Which is why we had thought those tower lights.
Yeah, makes sense.
But then I was like, we should drive towards the lights. My friend was like, okay, let's go. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's just drive towards the lights. So we went off of this road, and we're driving on a paved road, and then it turns into dirt, and we're still driving, starting to get bumpy. And as we're getting closer to these lights, because they haven't really moved, they're moving around each other, but they're not really going further from us, coming closer to us, but we're getting closer to them.
Right.
And as we're getting closer, then in like an instant, we all feel a kind of sense of dread. Like we're doing something wrong right now. Something doesn't feel right now. And like as soon as we were really close to these objects, that's when we had that feeling. And immediately there was no question about it. All of us decided, yep, all right, yep, we're all agreed. We're turning around. We're going out of here.
Interesting. All of you, how many people in the car were feeling this?
I want to say there was 4. It was me, I think his girlfriend, and then him and my brother. So 4 of us all together in the car. And all of us in that instant, just like it was at a snap of a finger, like all of us at the same time had that same exact feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah, I wonder. I think they can influence our emotions, and I think they can. I think one of the things they're doing when they're cruising around, and this happens a lot with people in cars. You know, you're driving in a remote area, and you might see a UFO. And I've heard so many reports that say the same thing. Like a person will see the UFO and go, "Oh my God, a UFO!" in their mind.
Yep.
And then the UFO stops and turns and starts coming towards them. It's like they're reacting to being seen.
That's. Oh, you can go on. I'm sorry.
No, it's especially with people that have had prior experiences, or maybe more psychic or slightly more psychic. It's literally like their awareness of our being aware of them is just they just know.
And what were you going to say?
Oh, well, I was going to speak to the point that you had made of people seeing something and then it coming towards them. I do have one of those moments as well. This was another few years later. We had moved back to California, and I would periodically make trips from California to Arizona just to visit friends, things like that. I remember driving back from Arizona, going home. We were driving in the middle of the desert. It was always in the middle of the desert. And I start seeing again this bright light kind of dancing in the sky. And I see it, and I'm wondering what it's doing. I'm like, is that a helicopter looking for somebody in the middle of the desert? I mean, we just passed a prison and one of those don't pick up any hitchhiker signs. And I'm thinking, okay, there's a helicopter searching for somebody. But it starts moving quick, really quick. And I'm like, okay, a helicopter can't do that. So I try to wake up my brother who's asleep. And I'm like, hey, wake up. I need you to see this too in the sky. And he's knocked out. And as soon as I kind of turn towards him to tap him and then turn back, this light is now coming down and straight towards my car to the point where I felt the need to swerve out of the way.
Wow. That
So I
close.
swerve, and it's just a two lanes going one way, two lanes coming another way. So thankfully there wasn't a car next to me on the other side. So I swerved out of the way. That's when my brother wakes up because he felt the car jolt. I immediately look behind me because I think, okay, somebody is driving on the wrong side of the road, and there's no tail lights going in the other direction. And these were bright lights. So obviously the person, if they were driving on the wrong side of the road, would have their lights on. And I didn't see that light going away. But it was just, that's one of the experiences that really, really racks my brain, because I know, like, deep down, I know I saw it in the sky. I saw it come down, come straight towards the car. I had to swerve out of the way. Like, it wasn't me falling asleep and swerving or anything like that. But needless to
Lucky you
say,
didn't
after
roll
that,
the car, you know.
yeah, after that, I kind of white knuckled my way through the rest of the drive, just holding on to that steering wheel.
Did this
But yeah,
object come down to your level? And how
Well, yeah,
how
you had
big?
to swerve out of the
Yeah,
way.
how big
right?
was it rough? It was was it car size or was it smaller?
yeah, well, honestly, it felt like if there was a giant diesel truck in front of me. The light was so bright that it just encumbered me fully. Like, and that's why I felt so strongly that I had to swerve and move out of the way, because I was like, whatever this is right in front of me.
Did you have
And-
any ill effects physically?
No, other than just being shooken up from that.
Yeah.
No
And the
burns
fact-
or anything like that? You know?
No, I did have, again, what made me know that it was real was the fact of when you stare into a bright light for too long, you get that white spot in your
Yeah.
eye.
Yes.
That I kind of had that
It was
for
burned into
just a
your
few
retina
minutes.
for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. Just because it was so bright, like it lit up. And that's why it was strange to me, and it really racked my brain. The fact that I would, if it was really, even if the person didn't have tail lights or anything like that, I should have been able to see this light behind me as
Yeah.
well, going the other way.
It's
But I
almost like
couldn't.
it shot straight up after it
Yeah.
went over you or something, maybe, which is certainly not impossible for them to do.
Not uncommon either. Really.
Yeah, very
No.
not
Yeah.
uncommon.
Well, as fast as it came down towards me, I would imagine it can go back up the same speed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, they were clocked on radar. This was in Michigan. Like, I love these mass sightings. They're my favorite kind, because a single person witness can be wrong or lying or crazy or any number of things, right? But
Misidentification. Yeah. Sure.
but this sighting of like 300 people called the cops and said, "There's a UFO in my backyard." So I mean, then you know that something's real.
This is 94, right?
I believe so. And the cops called the weather station on Lake Michigan. Is right on the coast of Lake Michigan, and the weather guy turned the radar towards the phenomenon, and he picked him up going 72,000 miles an hour. So that's the fastest I've ever heard of them being clocked.
Wow.
Yeah, he got some harassment because of that. Basically, they kind of the typical thing of making fun, like
Yeah.
making fun of him.
Yeah, his coworkers, they took paper plates and stapled them together upside down, facing each other, and then hung them all over his office. It's
Yeah.
like, so the poor guy was the UFO
Yeah,
guy for a long time.
He ended
Yeah.
up moving on from that job.
Yeah, he thought it was wise for his career move to get out of there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Yeah,
shame
there was
that that this ridicule campaign that of Project Blue Book, it made the whole thing into a big joke, and I personally find nothing funny about it myself.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what they tend to do when you throw around the term tinfoil hat, conspiracy theorist. They're all made to kind of put these people down and not to be trusted. Don't listen to what this person's saying. They're just crazy. Like, there's no object in the sky. There's no being from another planet or another dimension. Like, just focus on us.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, there are still people, for instance, the United States, believe it or not, 10% of the population believes that the Earth is flat. That's about 35 million people believe that the Earth is flat, and 12% of people, which is about 42 million, believe that the NASA landing of Apollo 11 was faked. I mean, they had practice. They had sets they built, and they had practice facilities so they could kind of simulate what they thought that what the moon surface was going to be. That was all true.
Yeah.
But as far as that the Apollo Saturn rocket was faked and they didn't actually go to the moon, and these guys been lying, for all these years.
I saw this interview with Buzz Aldrin, and he was just incensed that people think this. He says, "Oh my God, what we went through to do this, and now this, this crazy theory."
In fact, did you ever see they were debriefed like in 1969 after they had been decontaminated, and they did a press briefing, all three, Collins, Armstrong, and Aldrin, and these guys, they look absolutely miserable. They're answering these questions, and they look depressed and miserable. It's like,
yeah, you think it would be like, we just went to the moon.
They're always, we just went to the moon, right? But they look, you can tell they're holding stuff back.
Yeah.
They just don't, they've been told, you don't talk about this stuff, Yeah, they went to the moon.
Yeah, they were tight-lipped.
And Aldrin said that they were actually being followed.
Yeah, he did.
There was a light following them the whole way. Like, I always think of the aliens probably looking at our crappy little, spacecraft, our rickety little spacecraft.
How cute,
Aren't they adorable? Yeah.
They got their Model Ts. They're flying their Model Ts. I remember those days.
Yeah, I just had a discussion with somebody the other day when they were like, "Do you believe that they are like nefarious in a way?" And I said, if they have the technology that they're showing now, if they were really evil or something in a way and they wanted to destroy the planet, I would say they could probably do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
If they really wanted to. And I was like, I don't think that's what it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you kind of know our theory, what we think. We call them cousins.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so.
we think that they're living here amongst us, but under the ground. And
it's necessity. They actually they need us, because we're genetically almost the same. That's why they breed with us.
Yeah, that's the thing is people. A lot of people think, oh, they're coming here from distant star systems, but they're having sex with us and making babies. So what else can they be? I mean, I think they can't be anything else except very close genetic relatives to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's if people believe that particular thing, the abduction phenomenon.
We're coming up on the 45-minute mark.
Are we? Oh, God, time does fly.
Yeah, it does. We apologize. It's beyond our control at this point, so.
No worries. I wanted
to ask, though, if you have anything you want to plug that you've got coming up.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, this is...
As of right now, I just have new episodes that are coming out, kind of been more consistent on my end, which is good. So I have an interview with a medium, a channeler that's coming up. That should be the next episode, which I think would be interesting for everybody. Another paranormal researcher who runs the gamut on all aspects of the paranormal, and his connecting with yours. He also had a few triangular shaped objects that he witnessed that he shares on that episode. So I think that would be interesting for people to listen to. And going from there, it'll just be more interviews, more talking with people, much like you guys are doing, which is always a great thing, connecting with more people in the community.
And how can people hear your podcast? Is it everywhere on Apple and Spotify and all those?
Oh, yeah. Apple, Spotify, wherever you can listen to a podcast, you can find Induced Fear. Just search Induced Fear. If you want to see the videos, you can search it up on YouTube. That will also be under an Induced Fear name. Anywhere that people really want to find us and see any video that we post out will be under Induced Fear. I'm trying to keep it simple so everybody can find it easy.
Great, great. That's important.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Oscar. That's Oscar Romo, everyone, and the host of the Induced Fear podcast. And it's just been great. Thank you. And